We're switching up the background today. We're going to talk about buying a home. Now, the real estate market is crazy and everybody has a different situation. I'm going to give the best advice that I can as an overall guide for people buying a home. The home buying process can be super intimidating, but it's really pretty simple. I bought my first home when I was 22. I was scared to death. So I want to help you guys to avoid feeling the way that I did when I bought a home and help you to understand that it's actually pretty easy. If I'm able to give you some value, hit that like button and subscribe. We're going to start with probably the most important question. How expensive of a home should I buy? Now, there's a difference between can and should. You need to understand that you don't want to just go buy the biggest house you possibly can. There's an easy rule to help you figure out how much you should spend on a house. It's called the 25% rule. It's really simple. All you do is take your monthly after-tax income and you're going to multiply that by 25%. So let's say you had $4,000 after tax every month. You're going to multiply that by 25% and you'll get 1/4 of your income, or $1,000 a month. So you want to make sure that as you're shopping for a home, your mortgage payment is going to be around $1,000 or less. Keep in mind that you can get approved for much more than that. I'll talk about this later, but your debt to income ratio is going to be the biggest thing that determines what you can get approved for, and you need to know the difference between your debt to income ratio and how much you should be spending. First, we're going to talk about down payments. That's the big thing that you need to worry about after you figure out how expensive of a home you want to buy. Now, down payments vary very widely. You can pay as little as 0% to 3%, or you could pay up to 20% on a property. Now, if you're buying a home that you plan to live in, you can get away with a pretty low down payment. But the question is, should you? Now, one of the most popular ways of doing this is through an FHA loan. Now, for a lot of people, an FHA loan is a great way to get into your first home, but there are some drawbacks. For instance, you pay private mortgage insurance, or PMI, which will be there for the life of the loan, but you can refinance out of that. There's ways to deal with it. So none of this stuff is permanent. Whatever loan you get, you could be screwed to the moon, and in a year or two you refinance and you could be good as gold. Make sure that prior to actually shopping for a home, you have that money available to you. The other big cost that people overlook is closing costs. Now, there are ways to have the seller cover the closing costs, but in this market, it can be kind of tough. So you should probably bank on having to pay for those yourself. Personally, what I did when I bought this home, my closing costs were going to be about $4,500. I'd offered the seller $120,000 for the home. He countered and said he would cover closing costs if I paid $125,000. So I still paid the $25,000. He just covered the closing costs up front. That's an option, but it can be hard to negotiate those things in the current market. Also, keep in mind when considering your down payment that the market does move. Contrary to popular belief, real estate doesn't always go up. If you look at times like 2008, you'll see that the real estate market does have a potential to go very far down. A bigger down payment will protect you from downshifts in the market. At the same time, though, you're never forced to sell at the bottom of a market, and it will eventually come back up. So as long as you're willing to stay in a home long term, you don't have to worry too much about the market shifting. You should really take into consideration how much time you're going to spend in your home before purchasing it. So once you figured out how expensive of a home you want to buy, you figured out how much of a down payment you're going to need, you've saved it up, now it's time to actually go get pre-approved for a loan. I think this is where people start to get scared, but it's actually pretty simple. If you go into a mortgage broker, you literally just sit down and answer questions. Those questions will be all about your finances, and based on your answers to those questions, you'll be pre-approved for a certain amount. Make sure you don't lie to these questions because down the road, they will be verified. Once you've received your pre-approval letter, now you get to do the fun part, shopping. A lot of people argue about the best way to go about this. The two big ways are to shop online through like Zillow for say, or to actually get a real estate agent. Personally, I think you should do both. In my shopping experiences, I've always found listings that I liked that I sent to the agent that I was working with, and he took me to see them. At the same time, he has also sent me listings that he thinks I would be interested in, and sometimes I've gone and looked at them and they are pretty interesting. The seller usually pays commissions for the agents involved, so you don't need to worry about paying for the agent if you're a buyer. It's very convenient, take advantage of it. Now, when you're shopping, you need to pay attention to some key things. Location is the number one most important thing, and the condition of your home compared to those around it. It's very easy to turn your personal home into a long-term investment, by buying a lower value home in a higher value neighborhood. If all of the homes in your area are $400,000 or $500,000 and you find one that's priced at $3,000 that's comparable in size and design to all the others, it probably just needs some updating to bring it up to that value, or you found a smoking deal. Either way, if you're the lower valued house in the neighborhood, then you know that the value of that home is secure and very likely to go up. So if you were to sell it 5, 10, 15 years down the road, you can almost guarantee that you've built up a good amount of equity, more than your neighbors who have higher valued homes to start with. You also want to pay attention to the community you're buying in. A lot of times we don't determine our community based off of, if we want to buy a house there, but it is something to consider. Is there a good school system there? Is there a good public transportation system? The things that are important to you are things that you need to consider. Your daily life will revolve around where you live. So make sure that the things around where you live are satisfactory to you. Now, once you've found a house, you get to do the most nerve-wracking thing, make an offer. Now, for me, that was scary, making an offer. And I was so scared to offer below what they wanted. But your agent will help you to make an offer that is competitive based on the current market. Right now, it's a seller's market, so your offers have to be really competitive. But in a buyer's market, you might be able to steal a really good deal. Again, consult your agent and they'll really help you through this process. A lot of people are really scared about what happens after you make an offer. It's simple. You do what you're told. The mortgage broker and your real estate agent, they're going to take care of scheduling pretty much everything for you. You just get to sit there while you're in escrow. Escrow is the process of the house being inspected, being appraised, all of the things that take place between you making an offer and actually signing the papers to purchase the home. Now make sure that throughout this time, you're not doing anything that would significantly impact your credit. Don't go buy a new car. Don't go rack up debt on a credit card. Keep your finances secure and safe so that nothing disrupts what's going on between the time that you make an offer and you close. Now, the day you sign your paperwork and that house is officially yours, you can go do whatever you want with your credit. It won't matter. But in that time, don't screw up your deal. This is the time where they're going to be appraising your home. You can have an inspection done to figure out if there's anything hidden in the house that might be wrong with it. I highly recommend doing that. And feel free to look at the house as many times as you want and see if there's anything that you don't like about the home. This is one of the biggest purchases you'll ever make in your life. So don't feel bad about making your real estate agent show you the house more than once. Eventually, you'll probably have a meeting at the title company. They'll sit you down and they'll hand you a stack of papers thicker than a notebook. And you get to sit there and just sign and flip and sign and flip and sign and flip. And it takes forever and it's really intimidating. But ask questions as you go if there's anything you're unsure of, and feel free to read. Usually you have about an hour to go through this whole process, so take your time. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. If you have purchased a home and you have any tips, drop them in the comments so everybody else can see them. I'll see you in the next one.